The palace of the Jari Empire stood high above the clouds, floating on a crystal platform that shimmered like morning ice. It was the heart of power for many star systems, a place where peace was promised but secrets often lived behind polished walls. Queen Saren ruled there. She was calm, graceful, and wise. Her people respected her voice, for she brought peace after long years of war. Her kind, the Jari, were tall beings with soft crystal skin and glowing eyes that could see light invisible to humans. To her people, she was both ruler and symbol of unity. Among her guards was one human soldier named Rian. He had come from a distant world, once an enemy of the Jari Empire. After the war ended, humans were given a chance to serve in peacekeeping duties. Most Jari still distrusted them, calling them impatient and reckless. But Rian had proved himself brave and loyal during many dangerous missions. Queen Saren noticed his honesty and gave him a place among her personal guards. Rian never imagined he would serve in such a grand place. Every day he stood in halls that sparkled like stars, watching aliens of every kind move through corridors lined with gold and glass. Yet even in all that beauty, he often felt a quiet unease. Power, he knew, always carried hidden dangers. That evening, the twin moons of Nereth rose over the silver palace. The halls glowed with soft blue light. Rian stood at his post near the queen's chamber as he did every night. The corridor was calm, the only sound being the gentle hum of energy crystals that powered the floating palace. He looked down at the polished floor, his reflection staring back at him. Then from the corner of his eye, he saw two royal aides walking quickly through the hall. They spoke in low voices, their faces tight with worry. Rian could not hear the words, but their movements were tense, as if they were afraid of being seen. Moments later, Lord Zavar appeared. He was the queen's husband, tall and proud, dressed in shining black armor trimmed with gold. He was respected for his strength and feared for his temper. Rian straightened his posture as Zavar approached. "My lord," Rian said, bowing slightly. Zavar's sharp eyes studied him for a moment. "Still guarding the door, human?" he asked. "Always, my lord," Rian replied. Zavar smiled faintly, but there was something strange about it. His eyes flickered toward the queen's chamber door, then back to Rian. "A loyal soldier," he said in a calm tone. Then he turned and walked away down the hall. Rian watched him go. Something in that short meeting left a shadow in his mind. The look in Zavar's eyes was not that of a loving husband. It was the look of a man hiding a decision already made. After a few minutes, Rian left his post for the lower control room. The palace was quiet. Most guards were changing shifts. He used his clearance to access the surveillance crystals. The glowing spheres showed recorded moments from different halls. He searched through the recent footage of the queen's private chamber. At first, everything looked normal. Then he saw Zavar again, entering the queen's room with two aides while she was away in council. They carried a small metal case. Zavar opened it and placed something under the queen's resting seat. The object was smooth and silver with a faint red glow pulsing from within. Rian's stomach tightened. He had seen such devices during the war. It was a silent energy trap. Once activated, it could destroy everything around it without warning. He played the recording again to be certain. There was no mistake. Rian moved quickly through the corridors, his heart beating fast. The guards at the queen's door looked up in surprise when he returned. "Where is the queen?" he asked. "She is returning from the hall of prayer," one replied. Rian took a deep breath. He could not wait for permission or report this through the long chain of command. Every second counted. Soon the queen appeared at the far end of the corridor. She walked with quiet grace, surrounded by soft light from the crystals above. Her eyes glowed gently, and the guards bowed as she passed. Rian stepped forward and bowed deeply. "Your Majesty, please forgive my boldness," he said, his voice steady though his pulse raced. "But I must ask you not to enter your chamber." The queen stopped. The guards around her froze in surprise. "Explain yourself, Guard Rian," she said calmly. Rian looked into her eyes. "Your husband has placed something inside your chamber. It is a danger to your life. I saw him enter with his aides, and I have proof from the surveillance crystals." The hall went silent. The guards exchanged uneasy glances. One of them raised his weapon slightly, unsure if the human had gone mad. The queen's expression did not change. She spoke softly, yet every word carried weight. "You are accusing Lord Zavar, my husband and prince of this empire?" I accuse only what I have seen, my queen, Ryan replied. A silver device hidden under your seat. It carries the same light as an energy trap. If I am wrong, I will accept any punishment. But if I am right, you must not enter that room. For a long moment, the queen said nothing. Her glowing eyes studied his face. Then she turned to her captain of guards. Search the chamber, she ordered. The captain entered with 2 soldiers. They moved carefully, scanning every part of the room. After a short silence, one of them returned holding the small silver device in his claws. The faint red light blinked softly. A low gasp spread through the guards. The queen looked at the device for a long time. Then she raised her hand. Seal the chamber, she commanded. Her gaze turned to Ryan. You may have saved my life, she said. Her voice was calm, but there was a quiet strength in it. How long have you served me, Guard Ryan? 3 years, my queen, he said. You have shown great loyalty, she said. I will see to it that your truth is confirmed. You will remain by my side until I decide what must be done. Ryan bowed deeply. I serve you with all my strength, Majesty. The queen nodded, but her thoughts were far away. She looked down the long corridor where her husband had gone. Her calm face showed no anger, but her eyes shone with cold light. She spoke softly, almost to herself. A throne is not safe even in peace. Ryan watched her, realizing that the real danger had just begun. The queen now knew of betrayal in her own palace, and the one who betrayed her was the most powerful man next to her. That night, as guards secured the chamber and scientists studied the device, the queen remained silent in the hall. She stood near the window, staring out at the endless stars. Ryan stayed close, alert and watchful. Far below the floating palace, the world of Nerith shimmered in the light of its moons. But inside the silver halls, trust had been broken, and the quiet peace of the empire had begun to crack. Ryan knew that from this moment, nothing in the palace would ever be the same again. The night after the discovery was silent, yet the silence carried a weight of fear. The silver halls of the palace felt colder than before. Guards moved with care, speaking in whispers. Everyone knew that something dangerous had been found in the queen's chamber, but none dared to ask questions. Queen Saren did not sleep that night. She sat in the royal meeting room, her calm face lit by the pale light of the twin moons. Before her lay the small silver device that had been hidden under her seat. The red glow was gone, but its memory remained in everyone's eyes. Her advisors stood around the table waiting for her to speak. Among them were scientists, generals, and royal aides. Each one avoided the queen's gaze. Finally, she looked up. This device could have taken my life, she said quietly, and it was placed inside my chamber. I want to know who had access. The captain of guard stepped forward. Only members of the royal household and council, my queen. That includes Lord Zevar. At the sound of his name, the room fell silent. The queen's eyes did not move, but her hands tightened slightly. Where is Lord Zevar now? He returned to his quarters after the council meeting, said one of the aides. Bring him to me, said the queen. The guards left at once. Ryan stood near the wall, silent. He had been ordered to stay close to the queen until the investigation ended. He kept his eyes low, knowing that many in the room already distrusted him. To them, he was just a human soldier who had spoken against their prince. But the queen's order was clear and none dared to disobey. After a short while, the doors opened and Lord Zevar entered. He walked with pride, his black armor shining under the pale lights. His expression was calm, as if nothing had happened. My queen, he said, bowing slightly. You called for me? The queen's gaze met his. Her voice remained steady. Yes, someone placed this device in my chamber. It was found under my seat. Zevar looked at the object and raised his brows. A weapon? In your chamber? Who would dare do such a thing? Ryan watched him closely. There was no sign of fear or surprise in his tone. Only careful control. The queen leaned back in her chair. The surveillance crystals recorded who entered my chamber tonight. 3 beings were seen. You and your 2 aides. Zevar's calm face froze for a moment before he smiled faintly. Ah, yes. I entered earlier to leave a gift for you, my queen. I wanted it to be a surprise for tomorrow's celebration. Perhaps your guard mistook it for something else. The queen's eyes narrowed slightly. You call this weapon a gift? Zevar raised his hands. I do not know what weapon you speak of. I placed a small case near your seat, yes, but it contained crystals from the Lorith mines. A token of beauty, nothing more. The Queen looked at Ryan. "Guard Ryan, step forward." Ryan came closer and bowed. "Tell me again what you saw," she said. Ryan described the recording clearly. He told them how Zavar had opened the case, how the object had glowed red, and how he had hidden it beneath the Queen's seat. He spoke with calm respect, careful not to raise his voice. When he finished, Zavar turned toward him slowly. His voice was smooth but sharp underneath. "Human, you speak boldly for one so new to this palace. Are you sure you did not imagine it? Perhaps you wished to earn favor by creating a story." Ryan met his gaze without fear. "I only speak the truth, my lord." Zavar smiled again, but there was no kindness in it. A human's truth is often shaped by fear. Before the Queen could speak, one of the scientists interrupted. "Majesty, if I may, we have examined the device. It is indeed a weapon, not a crystal case. It carries a hidden core designed to release energy when touched by organic life. It was built with advanced Jari technology." The Queen's voice turned cold. "So this was no mistake." Zavar frowned, stepping back slightly. "You cannot believe that I would harm you," he said. "We have ruled together for years." The Queen's tone remained calm. "I believe only what is proven. Until this matter is clear, you will remain under guard." The room gasped in shock. Zavar's eyes widened with anger. "You will place me under guard? You forget who helped you gain this throne." "I forget nothing," said the Queen quietly, "which is why I must know if the one beside me now still stands with me or against me." Guards stepped forward. Zavar did not resist, but his gaze burned with cold fury. As they led him away, he turned his eyes toward Ryan. "You have made a dangerous enemy, human. Remember that." When he was gone, silence filled the hall again. The Queen closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, she looked tired but firm. "Leave me," she told her advisors. "All of you, except Guard Rian." The room cleared until only she and Rian remained. She looked at him for a long time. "You risked your life by speaking against a man of power," she said. "Why did you do it?" Ryan answered quietly. "Because I gave my oath to protect you, Majesty. Not just with weapons, but with truth." The Queen studied him closely. Many would have stayed silent. "Silence kills faster than any weapon," Ryan said. For the first time, a faint smile touched her lips. "You speak like a soldier who has seen much." "I have, my Queen. I learned that loyalty without courage is useless." She nodded slowly. "You have courage, Guard Rian. Perhaps that is why you were sent here." She stood and walked toward the wide glass window overlooking the endless stars. Her reflection shone beside his in the crystal wall. "There is something you must understand," she said softly. "Power in this empire is not held by one throne. It moves in shadows. If Zavar acted alone, then I can face him. But if others stand behind him, then the danger is far greater." Ryan listened quietly. "Then we must find the truth," he said. The Queen turned to him. "Yes, but not by open force. You will stay near me and you will watch. Do not trust every guard who wears my symbol. Not all are loyal." Ryan bowed his head. "As you command." The Queen looked out again at the stars. "A storm is coming, Rian, I can feel it. The peace we built may not survive what lies ahead." Outside the palace, the sky began to change color as the dawn of Nerith approached. The silver walls glowed with soft light, hiding the fear that now lived within them. Ryan stood by the door, ready and alert. The Queen's husband was in custody, but the real danger was still waiting somewhere unseen. He knew the warning he gave had saved a life, but it had also opened a path that could destroy him. Still, he felt no regret. For the first time in his life, he knew he stood on the right side of history. And deep in the cold halls of the palace, as shadows moved where light could not reach, unseen eyes watched the human guard with quiet hatred. The next morning, the palace of the Jari Empire looked peaceful from the outside, but inside its silver walls, tension grew like a silent storm. The guards walked faster and the air felt heavy with unease. Rumors spread quietly through the corridors. Some said the Queen's husband had tried to take her life, while others whispered that a human guard had lied to gain power. Queen Saren did not speak to anyone that morning except her most trusted advisors. She had ordered Lord Zavar to be held in the royal vault chamber, guarded by soldiers loyal only to her. But she knew that keeping him locked away would not end the danger. Power never slept in the empire. Rian stood near the grand window of the Queen's private meeting room, watching the endless sky beyond. The light from the twin suns filled the halls with soft gold, yet he could not enjoy the beauty. He felt eyes on him everywhere he went. Many Jari soldiers still did not trust him. To them, he was the stranger who accused their prince. The queen entered quietly. She wore a plain silver robe instead of her usual royal armor. Her steps were calm, but her eyes carried the weight of deep thought. "Guard Ryan," she said, her voice firm but kind. "Walk with me." He followed her through the silent halls. The sound of their steps echoed softly on the crystal floor. "I have spoken with the council," she said as they walked. "They want to release Zevar. They say there is not enough proof to keep him imprisoned." Ryan frowned. "The weapon is proof enough, Majesty." "Yes," she replied, "but power often speaks louder than truth. Zevar's family controls much of the military. If I act against him without full evidence, the generals may turn against me." Ryan understood her fear. "Then we must find the proof no one can deny." The queen stopped near the chamber of records where old data crystals were stored. "That is what I intend to do," she said. "And you will help me." She placed her hand on the scanner. The door opened, revealing rows of glowing crystals stacked inside. Each crystal held recordings, reports, and secret files from across the empire. The queen pointed toward the older section. "We will start here. If Zevar planned this, he did not do it alone. I believe someone inside the council helped him." Ryan nodded and began searching through the crystals. Hours passed as they looked through recordings and messages. Most showed only normal council discussions, trade meetings, and military briefings. But near the end of the archive, Ryan found a strange message hidden in the records. He placed it on the reader. The image appeared in the air. It showed a meeting in a dark chamber. Zevar stood with 3 council members, their faces covered by veils of light. The sound was faint but clear. One of them said, "When the queen is gone, the army will follow you, my lord. The throne will be yours." Zevar replied, "It will be done tonight. The device is ready." The queen watched in silence as the recording ended. Her hands tightened at her sides, but her face remained calm. "This is what I needed," she said quietly. "Now I know who stands against me." Ryan looked at her. "What will you do now?" "I will not strike them yet," she said. "If we move too fast, they will hide their tracks and create more lies. We will let them believe they are still safe." That night, she called a council meeting in the royal hall. The chamber was wide, with tall pillars and glowing blue lights along the walls. Every member of the High Council was present. Ryan stood near the door, silent but alert. The queen entered with slow, steady steps. Her robe shimmered in the light, and her presence filled the room with quiet authority. "My lords and advisors," she began, "we are gathered to discuss the matter of Lord Zevar." Some members shifted uncomfortably. One of them, a tall Jari with golden skin, spoke first. "Majesty, the Empire cannot afford to imprison its prince without reason. His actions were misunderstood." The queen looked at him calmly. "You believe he is innocent?" "I do," the man said firmly. "He has served the Empire with honor." The queen nodded slightly. "Then perhaps you will help me understand this." She lifted her hand, and the recording Ryan had found appeared in the air above the table. The room fell silent as the image of Zevar and the 3 council members played. The words echoed clearly through the hall. When it ended, the queen spoke again. "These are your voices. I do not need to name you, for everyone here knows who they belong to." The golden-skinned man's face turned pale. The other 2 members beside him looked away. The queen's tone remained calm. "I will not execute you. That is not my way. But you will step down from the council and face judgment for treason." Guards stepped forward. None of the 3 resisted. The queen turned her gaze toward the rest of the council. "Let this remind you that loyalty to the throne is loyalty to peace. Betrayal will only bring ruin." The meeting ended in heavy silence. When everyone had gone, only Ryan and the queen remained. "You acted with wisdom," Ryan said quietly. "You did not need violence to win." The queen looked at him with a faint smile. "Victory without blood is the hardest kind. But I fear this is not the end. Zevar will not forgive what has happened. And there may still be others who follow him." Ryan nodded. "He will come for you again. He will not stop until he has what he wants." "Yes," she said, "and that is why I must be ready." That night, she ordered her engineers to build a new shield system around her chambers, controlled only by her and Ryan. It was a simple design based on human and Jari technology combined. The engineers were surprised that she allowed a human to oversee royal defense, but she ignored their questions. Ryan worked for hours beside the Jari engineers. His knowledge of human energy systems helped complete the shield faster than expected. When it was done, the Queen tested it herself. The chamber glowed with blue light, and the air around her shimmered with a faint hum of protection. "You trust me more than your own generals," Ryan said softly. The Queen looked at him. "Trust must be earned. You have earned it." Ryan bowed his head. "Then I will not fail you." Outside the window, the night sky stretched wide, filled with stars. The Queen looked out at them for a long time. "Ryan," she said at last, "do you believe in destiny?" He thought for a moment. "I believe we make our own path, Majesty, but sometimes life pushes us where we must go." She smiled slightly. Perhaps this is where both our paths were meant to meet. As the night deepened, the palace seemed calm once more, but hidden forces were already moving. Deep inside the vault where Xavar was held, a shadow passed through the darkness. The guard stationed there never saw the figure that slipped past them without sound. By the time the suns rose again, the cell was empty, and the door lay broken. Lord Xavar was gone, and the Queen's peace was about to end once more. Morning arrived with a quiet sky over the Silver Palace, but the peace was false. The guards discovered the broken vault door just after sunrise. The royal alarm spread through every hall like a rising storm. Within moments, hundreds of soldiers filled the corridors, searching every corner of the floating palace. Queen Saren stood in the command chamber, watching the glowing map of the palace walls. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp. Ryan stood beside her, his armor still dusted with metal fragments from the broken vault door. He had been the first to arrive when the alarm sounded. "No sign of Lord Xavar," the captain of guards reported. "He escaped through the east wing before dawn. We found 3 guards unconscious near the lower hangar." "No signs of struggle. Alive?" the Queen asked. "Yes, Majesty," the captain replied, "but their memories are blank. They cannot recall what happened." Ryan frowned. He must have help from someone inside. "The security doors cannot be opened without high-level codes." The Queen nodded slowly. "Then the betrayal still runs deep." She turned to the communication officer. "Send word to every outpost in this system. Xavar must not leave Nerith. If he reaches the fleet, the Empire will be divided." The officer bowed and began sending the command through the crystal network. Ryan looked out the wide window of the command room. The world of Nerith shimmered below, covered in clouds. "If he escaped the palace, he will not stay on this world," Ryan said. "He knows you will search here first." "You are right," the Queen replied. "He will go where he has friends. The outer moons, perhaps." The Queen's eyes turned toward the horizon. "I must stop him before he gathers support. If he convinces the generals to follow him, there will be war." Ryan spoke firmly. "Then let me go after him." The Queen looked at him. "You would face him alone?" "I would face him with the truth," Ryan said. "He thinks I am only a human soldier. That will make him careless." The Queen studied him for a moment. "You may go," she said at last. "Take a small ship and 1 tracking drone. Find him if you can, but do not try to fight him alone." "Bring me word and I will act," Ryan bowed. "Yes, Majesty." Within an hour, Ryan left the palace in a small scout ship. The engines glowed blue as he flew through the clouds toward the upper atmosphere. The planet below became smaller as stars filled the window. He activated the tracking drone and entered the code for Xavar's ship signature. The drone searched through the data waves of space, scanning for energy trails. After several minutes, it found one faint signal leading toward the 4th moon of Nerith, a rocky world used for mining rare metals. Ryan set his course and increased speed. The flight took several hours. When he reached the moon, he saw broken towers and dark mines scattered across the surface. The moon was quiet, its cities long abandoned after the war. Only a few machines still worked in the ruins. Ryan landed the ship near an old mining station. The air outside was thin but breathable. He stepped out carefully, his weapon ready. The station's doors were open, and faint lights flickered inside. He moved through the dark corridors, following the faint signal from the drone. His boots echoed softly on the metal floor. Inside one of the old control rooms, he found signs of recent activity. The dust had been cleared and a small fire burned in a metal barrel. Then he heard footsteps behind him. He turned quickly, raising his weapon. A tall figure stepped from the shadows. It was Xavar, wearing a dark flight suit instead of armor. His eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. "So the Queen sent her loyal human," Xavar said with a thin smile. "I should have expected that." I came on my own, Ryan said calmly. You cannot hide forever. The Queen has the proof. The Council has turned against you. Savar laughed quietly. Proof means nothing when power decides truth. Do you really think her council will stay loyal once they see me lead the fleet? The generals owe me their command. The moment I return, they will follow. Ryan stepped forward. You will destroy everything she built. Savar's expression hardened. She built nothing. I built this empire with her. I won the wars. I brought peace through fear. And now she thinks she can rule without me. The throne belongs to both of us, yet she tries to stand alone. Ryan kept his weapon lowered, but his voice firm. You could still stop this. Go back and face judgment. She would show mercy if you speak the truth. Mercy is weakness, Savar said. You humans still believe in such things. That is why you lose every war. Ryan's eyes stayed steady. And that is why we never stop fighting. Savar's smile faded. For a moment there was silence between them. Then Savar raised his wrist device. The walls around them began to hum. Energy crystals hidden in the corners started to glow red. You should not have come alone, Savar said coldly. Now you will join the list of those who stood in my way. Before he could activate the trap, Ryan fired at the control panel. Sparks flew and the crystals went dark. The explosion threw both of them to the floor. Smoke filled the air. Ryan coughed and crawled behind a metal beam. Savar rose slowly, his face twisted with anger. You think you can defeat me, human? Ryan stood holding his weapon steady. I do not need to defeat you. I only need to delay you. He pressed his communicator. Majesty, I found him, he said quickly. Fourth Moon, Mining Base 11. Send your forces now. Savar lunged at him, knocking the device from his hand. They struggled across the floor, each trying to gain control. Savar was stronger, but Ryan moved faster. He struck Savar's arm and pushed him back against the wall. Savar hit him with a heavy punch, but Ryan held his ground. You fight well for your kind, Savar said with a sneer. I fight for what is right, Ryan said. They clashed again, the sound of metal echoing through the empty station. Ryan's weapon slid across the floor. Savar reached for it, but Ryan grabbed a loose pipe and struck his wrist, forcing him to drop it. Outside, a bright light flashed through the cracked windows. A royal ship descended toward the station. The Queen had arrived with her guard fleet. Savar looked toward the light and stepped back, breathing heavily. She sent you to trap me, he said. She sent me to stop you, Ryan answered. Savar looked at him one last time. You're a fool, human. You think you saved her, but you only delayed her fall. She cannot rule forever. The throne will never belong to your kind. Before Ryan could answer, Savar pressed a button on his wrist. A hidden door opened behind him, leading into a dark tunnel. He ran inside before the guards could reach the station. By the time they entered, the tunnel had collapsed behind him. The Queen stepped into the room with her soldiers. She saw Ryan standing among broken metal and smoke. You did well, she said softly. You found him. But he escaped again, Ryan said. The Queen looked toward the tunnel. He cannot run forever. Now I know where he hides, and he knows I will never stop searching. She turned to Ryan. The next time we meet him, it will be the end. Outside, the sun rose over the moon's surface, lighting the ruins in gold. The hunt for the traitor had begun, and both sides knew that the final meeting would decide the fate of the empire. The Queen's fleet spread across the night sky of Nereth's fourth moon. The stars reflected on the silver hulls of her ships. From her command vessel, Queen Saren watched the screens showing every search zone. Each light marked a patrol team moving through tunnels and valleys, looking for Lord Savar. Ryan stood beside, her still bruised from the last fight but ready to continue. His eyes were tired, yet they held the same calm strength. 3 days of searching, the Queen said quietly. He knows how to hide. He was a commander once, Ryan said. He understands every corner of these moons. But he will not hide forever. He needs food, fuel, and followers. Sooner or later, he will try to reach his ship again. The Queen nodded. Then we must watch the skies as well as the ground. She looked at him with quiet trust. Ryan, I will not forget your loyalty. You saved my life, my people, and my honor. Ryan bowed his head slightly. I only did what was right, Majesty. Few still believe in what is right, she replied. You remind me that truth has strength of its own. A signal broke through the control room. Majesty, the officer said. One of our drones found energy movement near the south crater. It matches Zevar's escape ship. The Queen's expression hardened. Prepare my shuttle. We end this today. Ryan's voice was firm. Majesty, allow me to go first. It may be dangerous, she shook her head. This began with me and Zevar. It must also end with me. But you will stand beside me as always. Within minutes, the Queen's shuttle cut through the cold air of the moon and descended near the crater. Dust swirled under its thrusters as it landed on the rough ground. The soldiers spread out surrounding the entrance of a large cave. Inside the cave, the air was warm and heavy. The walls glowed faintly from ancient crystals. Deep inside, faint footsteps echoed. The Queen entered first, followed by Rian and a few guards. The deeper they went, the more signs they saw that Zevar had been there. Crates, tools, and a half-repaired ship sat in the shadows. Rian scanned the ship with his visor. The power system is active. He plans to leave soon. The Queen walked forward, her steps echoing softly. Then we arrived at the right time. Suddenly a voice came from the darkness. Too late, my Queen. Zevar stepped into the dim light, holding a small energy blade in one hand. His uniform was torn, his face marked with dust and anger. You should have stayed on your throne and enjoyed your victory, he said. Now you will lose everything. The Queen looked at him without fear. You already lost what mattered most. You lost your honor. Zevar laughed bitterly. Honor is for the weak. I gave you an empire. I fought your wars. And how did you thank me? By calling me traitor. You tried to take my life, she said calmly. You left me no choice. Zevar's eyes burned with rage. You cannot rule without me. The council fears me, not you. The army obeys me, not your soft words. Ryan stepped forward. The army stands with the Queen. They have seen what loyalty means. Zevar looked at him with hatred. You, the human guard. You think your words matter in our empire? They matter when they are true, Ryan replied. For a moment, silence filled the cave. The only sound was the slow hum of Zevar's half-repaired ship. Then Zevar raised his blade. If she dies, the Empire will remember my strength. Before he could strike, Ryan moved between them. The blade slashed across his armor, leaving a burning mark, but he stood firm. He struck back, forcing Zevar to step away. The guards tried to help, but the Queen lifted her hand. No, she said. This is his fight. Ryan fought with skill and patience. He did not fight for pride, but for peace. Each movement was careful and controlled. Zevar's attacks were wild and full of anger, but anger made him slower. The two circled each other near the glowing crystals. The light shimmered across their faces. Rian blocked another strike, then pushed Zevar back with a strong blow. Zevar stumbled, his blade falling from his hand. He looked up at Rian with disbelief. You are just a human, he said weakly. How can you stand against me? Because I have something you never had, Ryan said. A reason beyond myself. Zevar tried to rise, but the Queen stepped closer. Enough, she said. This ends now. She lifted her hand, and her crown device glowed. A field of blue energy surrounded Zevar, holding him still. He struggled, but the field tightened. Zevar of Nereth, she said, her voice echoing through the cave. You are guilty of treason and betrayal. I could order your death here, but I will not. You will face the council and answer for your crimes. Zevar stopped struggling and stared at her. You show mercy again. You never learn. The Queen looked at him with calm eyes. Mercy is not weakness. It is what separates a ruler from a conqueror. Ryan stood beside her, still breathing heavily from the fight. Majesty, the soldiers are ready outside. We can take him now. She nodded. Do it. Let justice be seen by all. The guards moved forward and took Zevar away in restraints. He said nothing more as they led him to the shuttle. When the ship rose into the sky, the Queen and Ryan stood at the edge of the crater, watching the horizon glow with the first light of dawn. The war between us is over, the Queen said softly, but peace will take time. Rian looked at her with quiet respect. You gave your people hope again. That is the beginning of peace. She turned to him. And you, Rian of Earth, what will you do now that your duty is done? He looked up at the stars. Humans once believed we could never belong in this galaxy. But today I stood beside a queen and fought for her world. I think that is enough for now. The queen smiled slightly. You belong wherever courage is needed. Ryan smiled back. Then I suppose I will stay here for a while. As the queen's fleet flew back toward Nerith, the message spread across the empire. The traitor was captured, the queen had prevailed, and the human who once guarded her had become a symbol of loyalty and courage. In the great halls of the palace, when the council gathered again, they spoke not only of power but of trust. They had seen what one human could do with honesty and bravery. That night, the queen stood on her balcony, watching the stars. She thought of all that had happened and all that was yet to come. Ryan stood quietly behind her, keeping his silent watch as always. The empire would heal, and perhaps one day humans and aliens would live not as rulers and guards, but as equals. The queen turned slightly and said, Ryan, the night is peaceful again. He nodded, and it will stay that way, Majesty. The stars above Nerith shone brighter that night, as if the universe itself was watching over the beginning of a new age, one born not from fear or power, but from courage and truth.